All right, everybody, welcome back. It was kind of questionable whether we were going to do the call this week because of the holidays, but it seems to me like quite a few of you wanted me to do it. So here we are.
Never get you never get too much of a good thing, John.
That's awesome. Well, I'm always happy to do it. As long as everybody else is on board, I'm here for you. So it is the 22nd of December. We're coming up on the end of the year. We got one more call left in the year. So next week, as those of you that have been with me for some time, you know that we wrap up the end of the year with a special event. And it's kind of painful for some. It's exciting for others, but I call it my scorecard. And I will be issuing the 2022 scorecards next week. And for those of you that are new, this will be a totally new experience for you. Don't worry if you just got on board. Don't worry if your scorecard doesn't come out good. It's the whole purpose is to set you up for the next year and to kind of reflect back on the last year. And I think it'll be meaningful for everybody, even if you're just getting started. This will be a very meaningful exercise because it really is the way to multiply your business in the following year. So if you're new to this, you're in a good spot. You're going to get right in on the beginning of it. So that's what it's all about. Get more customers, multiply and magnify your business, and also not just get more customers and not just make more money, but do it in a way that it gives you your time back. That's the most important thing because that's where our freedom comes from. You know, you can be as busy as can be and have all the money you need, but if you don't have time to enjoy it, it's kind of a moot point. You know, it's like, what did you do all this for if you can't enjoy it, right? So that's what we're going to focus on, and that's coming up next week, the 2022 scorecard. If you guys have questions, feel free at any time just to, do the whole raise your hand thing, and I'll get right to you. But I wanted to, Karen, go ahead, unmute and come on out.
So I'm very new at all this, and
Okay.
I'm wondering when you're going through the first section of segmenting, and then so you decide there's a whole lot of different, how do you narrow down which one is going to pay you the best? Where do you do that research?
That is a great question. That also is kind of in line with some of the other questions I've been getting in the Alignable group is how do you do this? How do you do the segmentation? How do you do the avatar creation? And a lot of it is common sense. If you really think about it, like somebody asked in there, how do I know who my ideal avatar is? It's either the one that brings you the most money or the one that you most like to work with. It kind of comes down to that. Hopefully they're in alignment. Hopefully the ones that bring you a lot of money don't drive you crazy and you just deal with them because of the money. But as far as the segmentation, what I always try and do, almost everybody's going to have a lot of segments. When you do this work and you see how many different segments are in front of you, you're going to realize, wow, this is going to be a lot of work to make all these different funnels for all these different people. So I always say, take a step back, look at everything that's in front of you. Those are your opportunities. And it's up to you to pick which one you're going to dive into. I always say, try and dive into the most profitable one first. And quite often the most profitable one is going to be the one that represents the biggest problem. Like I use the example of water. When I do this as an example, that you can segment the different uses of water into 100 different buckets. We all drink water, right? The world is our oyster if you sell water. But for sake of ease, I broke it into 3 segments to illustrate who would pay the most for it. So you've got in the first segment, you've got green people that'll buy the water because it's recyclable, all that stuff. They're not going to pay $20 a bottle for it though. If you tell them that recycled bottle of water is $20, they're all of a sudden not going to care too much about the earth. right? They're going to shift gears and they're not buying the water for 20 bucks. The next segment is people that are looking for enhanced performance, like athletes. They'll pay $20 for the water to get the competitive edge, but it's not going to be like for everyday drinking. It's going to be just for them in their, their warm-ups, their workouts, that kind of stuff. But then you've got the health reasons. The person that is dying and the water is going to help them spend a couple more days with the people they love. Obviously, that is the biggest problem here. That's the one where someone would pay the most for because they're going to get the most benefit out of it. It's the same product. It's the same people. It's just why they're purchasing it. So that's a really important piece of the analysis, is figuring out what someone wants, if it's in alignment with what you offer, and why they want it. The why they want it is probably the most important key thing that's going to shine a light on how you sell it to them and how much you can sell the same product for. You'll notice if you look at this, ad agencies do this all the time. They will take the exact same product. They will put a different wrapper on it. They won't change the product at all. Maybe they even just make it a different color, and they will sell it for a higher price. And there's people that will buy it because if you have a product or a service and you have 3 levels to choose from, the majority of people will by default choose the center grade. And it's amazing that they could be the identical thing. And that's where, they say it kind of gives advertising a bad name because it's a little deceitful, but it's been going on for a very long time. And I know, like, when I did a lot of commercial work in web development and search engine optimization, the bigger companies that I would work for, I could not be the cheapest one. Even though normally my prices were going to be very low, very competitive, if I would go into those bigger companies with those prices, I wouldn't get the jobs. They will not take the low man on the totem pole, no matter what. Even if your item is the best one on the market, they just won't take it. They don't trust it. So you have to look at, who you're selling to, what drives them, what's going to make them want to purchase from you. And a lot of it, like I said, a lot of it is going to be inside knowledge from having worked with these people. If you haven't had the chance to work with them, sometimes it'll just be a little trial and error, and you'll have to get some time under your belt. The more you know, the more you understand about your industry, the more you can sharpen your sword moving forward. So sometimes if you're just starting out, you just kind of have to guess at some of the stuff. There's no real science to it. I wish there was. I wish I could say, like, there's a tool and, you put your keyword in and it just tells you everything. I wish that existed, but I haven't found it yet. I keep looking. I'm like, if
John,
you'll be the first to know.
But John, do some people sometimes when they're getting started out, don't they sometimes overthink it? Like, if they started with one thing, that it'll develop. If they start going down one area, then those segments are going to open up for you.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. The other thing too, when you start, like if you're new in business and you start working with people that you've never worked with before, and maybe you're selling something, that's even new to you, you can learn a lot by interacting with people after they've purchased with you. Everybody that becomes your customer, you need to create a relationship with them. And this is something I talk about in ACT a lot. It's lifetime value of the customer. It's not just the first sale. You want to create a lifetime relationship with every customer that you bring into your business. And sometimes people they'll argue that fact, and they'll say, well, I only sell one thing and they only need it for a short time. Like we'll use the example of a maternity dress. I had a woman that came to me years ago And that was her thing. She made and sold maternity dresses. And we were trying to figure out how we were going to make a business around this and make it profitable for her, because, you know, her client is only with her for like 3 months. That's the only time they need that maternity dress. And now you're hunting for a new customer, right? Well, it occurred to me that when she acquires a customer, it's not a 3-month customer, it's an 18-year customer. We know what that woman is going to need for the next 18 years. It doesn't mean that we have to create all the products. All we have to do is be the expert for that customer and be one step ahead of them and let them know what's next and introduce them to the next product, the next service. And you can make sales commissions from that. You can have relationships with other manufacturers, other businesses that supply what is needed after you're done with the customer. And you can make a tremendous income from passing people through a lifelong funnel. And you don't even have to make the stuff. That's the best part of it all. So instead of her making just a few dollars on every dress she sold, she makes every customer that comes into her funnel, she makes tens of thousands of dollars over an 18-year time frame. That's a much better business model. And every one of you has the same opportunity, whether you know it or not. Because it doesn't matter what you sell, the people that you sell it to throughout their lifetime, they're going to purchase a lot of stuff. They're going to have a lot of problems that's way outside the scope of what you solve. All you have to do is anticipate it. Every market segment, every avatar is fairly predictable because they're walking a certain path. Like a homeowner, somebody goes to a realtor and they buy a house, right? Well, what's the first thing you want to do when you buy a new house, right? You want to put your own touch to it, right? You're probably going to redo the yard. You're probably going to repaint the inside. You're probably going to put, furniture in there. You might have the carpets redone. And the realtor doesn't have to supply all that stuff. All they have to do is make the introductions and make a commission, right? They can make a tremendous amount of money beyond the sale of the house if they just think about it. And like I said, every one of you has the same opportunity. Every person that you turn into a customer is going to need stuff well beyond whatever you're offering. Now, for you, you can make relationships with other business owners that solve those problems and just be the middleman. Middlemen make a boatload of money and they don't have to do much work. It's very little effort. And that's like music to my ears. Like a place where I can make a continued income with doing very little for it. That's what I'm all about. Randy, yeah.
Hey, John, quick question, because I can erase this question I had, because I have 3 or 4 today. But
Okay.
when you said middleman, and so I was going to ask the question. I like putting on. I'm really thinking of more and more about live events / virtual events, and what is the balance, and how do you strike up a relationship that says, let's say you have a guest speaker, you have a couple guest speakers or whatever. How do you not diminish the fact that you're the main guru, so to speak? It's your event. You want to bring people in, like I want to bring you in, or I want to bring Tim Gillette in, or Craig, like it's coming up soon.
Sure.
How do you strike a balance between, do you have to have a relationship in terms of they get paid, you get a piece of that? Is that what you're saying? Or
Well,
how do you do that?
Sure. It's about opportunity. When you have
Okay.
an opportunity for someone else, that automatically kind of puts you in control of the rules. So in whether they accept them or not, that's up to them, but you're still in control. You could say, hey, I'm putting on an event. I need some speakers. Here's the way it works. Speakers can offer from my stage the stage gets X% of the sales, and whatever your rules are. And then the speaker, usually they'll take it because it's opportunity for them.
Okay, so I've already got, so that leads into the second quick question. So I've got something planned for January 20th. It's a 3-part masterclass, one session, one full day session for 3 months, January, February, March. But here's the issue. It's just local, so it's not virtual. So I can't put it out to the entire world. But I have 3 or 4 guest speakers coming on. But they've done it they just accepted to do it for me. And I didn't have any terms because I'm like someone said, I'm new to this. I'm just understanding this. So this go around, it's one thing, but you're saying in the future, as you get going, have some parameters.
Yeah. Everything you do in business needs to really be engineered. If you do things haphazard, then you have a haphazard business model.
Okay.
And it's okay, getting started, it's better to do something than nothing. It's good to make mistakes. So
Randy, you talk about
everything you do, you're going to learn from. So, don't look at it as, oh, this is a terrible thing. It's just, oh, okay, I should have done it this way and I'll do it that way next time.
Well, and part of it is I was honored that these people said yes.
Yeah.
Just like when you said yes. But Tim made me think of something today, because Tim was joking around, but it's really serious, because I asked and I got it because I'm thinking this is awesome. But at the same time, I didn't think about it from a business perspective. And Tim said something to me that made me think, I got to think about that differently too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, like you said, most of the time, if you ask with an opportunity attached to it, you'll almost always get a yes from people in business.
Okay.
People in business are opportunistic. So you're presenting them with an opportunity. So, the other thing too is this goes to what I was just saying too about creating these relationships with other businesses. What businesses need most is sales. No matter how you slice it. Every business is driven by sales. It's like, to boil business down in the simplest of terms, it's money that makes the world go round, and it's sales that makes the money that makes the world go round. So without sales, the world stops, their business stops. And, you can only stall for so long before you crash. So when you have something like that, you are in power. When you go to somebody and you say, hey, I have an opportunity for you. I have a lot of customers that when I'm done with them, I could pass them over to you and I could share these customers with you. I'd like a sales commission for that. Would that be something that you would be interested in? I can almost guarantee you're rarely going to get a no on that. Because you're handing them something for free that they desperately need and want.
So I have 2 more questions, and I'll shut up. If you set a date, okay, here's what I did. I think I might have made a mistake, but I have to follow through with it. I thought starting out the new year with an event to kick off the new year and help people kickstart the new year come January would be a great thing. So I set this event up for January 20th. But knowing that Christmas is here, even though the word's out on it locally, which is what it's going to be, a local event, they're shopping. They're not going to be thinking about that until after the New Year's, if I'm lucky. So if in fact I don't get butts in seats, and there's a number that I have to have inside to make it happen, business-wise. So if January 20th or say 17th doesn't come, or comes without getting butts in seats, realistically, what in the heck can I do to save face and to save that event?
Well, here's something, just a step prior to that of your thought process. Okay. With people wanting to get 2023 off to a kickstart. They don't want to wait till the middle of January to do that.
Okay.
The time for that event is the end of the year. So you can run into the next year at full throttle. And your thought, you just said something about, people are out shopping. You are correct in part of your assumption. Some people are out shopping. Those are retail consumers.
Okay.
Business owners think a little differently. They'll get their shopping done, sure, but they're focused on business 100% of the time. It's 24/7, 365.
Okay.
They don't necessarily shut off. Their brains don't shut off. They don't just turn into a consumer for a week and then go back. So what they look at is everyone else shuts down. This is time for me to, to really get something done.
Okay.
So like if I were to put an event on, there is a lot of people that do take advantage of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is 100%, but there's a lot of business people that between Christmas and New Year's, they're in the workshop. They're getting ready for the next year. So if you were to do a live event in that week between Christmas and New Year's, and this is pure speculation on my part. I haven't put this to the test and actually tried it, but I think you'd get a lot of people in there. And I've seen other people that do that. I saw Ryan Dice do that.
So you're saying to do it before Christmas or?
No, between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh,
because you've got that it's almost like a dead week. Everybody takes off for the week and, things shut down. There's a lot of stuff that you just, it's time. It's time. It's uninterrupted time for a business owner.
John, if you were going to do that, how much lead time would you need?
The more lead time, the better. Any kind of an event, any kind of live event, the more lead time, the better. And I say that I'm not very good at that. I do a lot of stuff last minute. But if you're really serious about events, look at traffic and conversion. They're planning it a year in advance. They're selling tickets a year in advance. The bigger the event, the longer the lead time. That's probably why the event's bigger. They have longer lead times.
And this is not a big event. I can make money with 10 people in attendance.
Sure.
10 would be fine. 20 would be awesome. Any more than that, I probably couldn't handle it anyhow right now. But okay, so I get what you're saying, and I appreciate that. I think Tim, did you have something you wanted to?
I was going to say, Randy, I've always been very successful at doing one the first week right after January 1st.
Okay.
Always. You know what I mean? I launched my very first monthly live event in the first week in January in 2013. And there's just something about people who, especially in the coaching world, they're ready to, take action on their life now. And that's the week that I grab them on that week almost every year. And I've had people go, well, I said a thing this year that I'm going to attend an event a week. And you know what I mean? And yours came up as the first. So I grabbed it, and
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great way to fill a room and feel confident about filling a room. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something that, from a business perspective too, you can all take advantage of the fact that people are pre-programmed from very early age. They're pre-programmed to make New Year's resolutions. They're pre-programmed to make decisions to better themselves, lose weight, work out, get more fit, get more healthy, take more vacations, whatever it is. They're pre-programmed to do that right at this time of the year. So if you can key your events in on that will be a big draw. And if you can set the buying criteria, this gives you another opportunity to set buying criteria. If you want to do this, if you want to lose weight, if you want to, whatever it is that you're offering, if they want that outcome, always remember the timeline. When you're going through the ACT program, the timeline exercise is incredibly powerful. That's the fact of where they are and where they want to be. If you can key in your copy, your communication to transforming them to that thing they want to be, or that thing they want to do, or that thing they want to get, That's really powerful. Also know that keys back into what I was just saying. Once they get it, once you sell them and they get the outcome of whatever you've sold them, they're on a new timeline. As human beings, we are never satisfied. Whatever we get, we want something more. You know, as soon as we get what we thought we wanted, we're now a different person and we want the next thing. You know,
Okay,
and
so
this just goes on and on and on. So all you have to do is figure out what's the next timeline, who supplies that. I need to make friends with them. They got
okay,
money for me.
so you hit my final question with that word outcome. So can we touch on that real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I did something Suzanne Evans said to do, and out of, I think, 15 actions, I finally got one. So one turned into an actual virtual introduction with a meeting planner, a very large organization, which is attached to an even larger organization. So it's one of the organizations for the FAA. So I met with this lady and we had a great hour chit chat, and I understood what she's looking for, et cetera, et cetera. But she said, okay, submit a proposal to me. She's not the one that makes the decision on the keynote speaker, but she makes the decisions on the breakout presenters. Okay.
Okay.
Great. So she needs a title. She needs, in this proposal, let's see, it's title, description, outcomes, and fees. And so you said outcomes. So where do I go? Because I don't think I've actually had to do something that formal in terms of, title and description. Yeah, but I think the hardest part for me is the outcome part.
Okay.
So
Well,
is there a resource or a place or a thought process behind that?
outcome is basically your benefits. Think about outcome as benefits. Features is what it is. The thing that you have, features of it is what it is. Benefits is what it does.
Okay.
What it does, that's where you're going to find your outcomes.
And give me an example of what you're saying as an outcome.
So an outcome would be, you want to lose weight. So the outcome is you're going to be thinner. You're going to be, you're going to have more energy.
Okay.
You're going to be able to play with your kids like you haven't been able to do for the last few years.
Okay.
Maybe you'll be able to get out and walk with your spouse.
Got it.
Because now you're heavy, your knees hurt, you just don't feel good. Right. So the outcome is you're going to be healthier. You're going to be able to do all these things that you want to do. Those are all benefits of losing weight.
Okay.
So it's never about the thing. Nobody wants the thing. Like weight loss is not what they want. They want the outcome.
And you could substitute outcome for result or no?
Yeah, result,
Okay.
the benefit. What is it going to do for them? Why do they want it?
Okay.
Always ask that. If you want to really get to the bottom of your human communication here and communicating the value of what you do, you need to focus on what they want and why they want it. And the why they want it is way more important than the what they want.
And I got some insight from her about the what and the why as she's looking forward.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
And one of the interesting things was that I didn't realize it, but FAA, they can retire very early. And one of the things that they were concerned about is they retire early. What's next for them? How do they transition and that sort of thing?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that you got to look at. If you can key into that, then you can create incredible demand and desire for what you're offering.
Awesome.
It's
Okay.
very powerful. This stuff, and this is all like human basics. It's like if there were a manual for the human form, it would tell you how to communicate with them, and it would be based on what they want, right? Like, how do you get somebody to want something? You talk about what it's going to do for them.
Yeah.
You make the promises to the heart. That's where, when I talk about creating demand and desire, You have to make promises to the heart. You know, the heart is where all the wants and the desires live. It falls in love with the thought of the outcome. You know, and then you have that nasty old objection. The head gets in the way and says, I don't believe it. We're not buying that. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
So you have
All
to
right.
seduce the heart and convince the head. And that's the job of marketing. I'm telling you guys right now, the most important skill that you're ever going to learn in your life is marketing. Marketing is how you grab attention, create demand and desire, and make an offer. The sales part of it is the part where the transaction comes. That will come automatically if you do the marketing right. And if you do the marketing, if you get good at marketing, what you'll be good at is you'll be able to be good at communicating value, whether it's for your stuff or not. Think about that. If you get a customer, you create the value, they become your customer, you deliver, they have a great relationship with you, but now it's over, right? Because you're a marketer, because you're good at communicating value, how easy would it be to say, hey, I know what you're going to need next. And then you talk about the value of that. And then you pass them off to one of your providers and you make an affiliate commission or you make a sales commission.
Right.
And now you might have just doubled your income. You might have tripled your income. You might make more from the pass off than you made in the customer by yourself. And then all you have to do is you look at the timeline. You say, okay, when I pass them off to Joe, Joe is going to do his work with them. He's going to give them that transformation. It's going to take him 90 days to do it.
Mhm.
So about 85 days from now, I want to reconnect with that person and I want to start the process again, telling them, okay, you're just about to the end of the finish line. Things are awesome. Here's what you're going to want next. And then I pass them to the next one and the next one and the next one. If you get good at that, you're going to make a lot of money and it's going to be an easy life. And then all you have to do is just keep pumping them into the front. You've got a machine. All you have to do is just keep marketing to your little old customer here. Just make them happy. Your whole life should revolve around how many people you can make happy.
Got it. Okay. Thank you
Right.
very much.
And
Thanks,
just
Tim.
make
Thanks, Martin.
sure. Here's the other thing too. And this is me. This is like, I'm a real stickler for this. I won't pass people along just to make a buck. I will not do it. My reputation,
Yeah.
the way they look at me is how they're going to look at me when they look back after the next experience. And I want to be looked upon the same way they went in as they come out. I want to look at that. I want them to see me as a trusted source, a friend, and a benefit
Mhm.
all the way through the whole lifetime of the customer.
And that makes total sense. Yep.
So, that that's just, a core value. And if
Yeah.
you do that, people are going to refer you. When they have a good experience with you and they're talking to somebody else, guess who they're going to think of first when their friend needs something?
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, call Randy. He's done wonders for me. I bet he can help you too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, you reminded me of a little nugget that I would be happy to drop here for you. You were saying that when you have three prices, people will default to the middle price. Well, I found another guy that's done some other interesting marketing stuff. You know how when you go on a landing page for your pricing, you have the three prices and people tend to put the lowest and then the middle price and then the highest price. They found that if you put your factor 10 item, your fourth item that you normally don't talk to anybody about, because while you sell a 500 and 1,000 and 1,500, your $10,000 program, if you put that first and then put the other three, you'll sell more of the 10,000.
Okay. Yeah.
On a cold walk-in, rather than the Then
That's
when
interesting.
they've been playing with placement, and it's absolutely breathtaking when you look at,
Yeah.
wow, I'm going to start doing that.
I tell you, Mike Filsame, he did a webinar one time and I actually recorded it. And I'm pretty sure that I've got a recording of it in the ACT videos. It's in there as an example of how to set pricing. And he set this up, and it's an absolutely fascinating way that he set his pricing. He did it with the 3 tiers, but he made one of the tiers just absolutely ridiculous. They weren't in like the right order. It's like the math didn't make sense, but he was forcing them into one, and he forced almost all of them into the one. So that it was really a kind of a fascinating way that he did that. And, you know, back to the same point, when I say most of them will take the middle offer of if there's 3 offers, there is a certain percentage that will not take the middle offer. They will only take the high offer. So, and it can be exponentially higher. They'll still take it. So you can potentially leave a lot of money on the table if you don't have your pricing dialed in. And
John, I was gonna say something about what Richard's talking about. There's a term for it, but I don't remember exactly what it's called.
okay,
Basically, it's like, how do you sell a $10,000 watch? Put it next to $100,000 watch.
there you
You're
go.
not getting people buying a Rolex next to Movado or something, right? So
Yeah.
that's the trick.
Yeah,
But here's the thing.
it's a great
What if you
example.
what if you only have one product and one price? How do you play the shell game with that?
Okay,
It's-
I've got somebody that I'm working with that falls into that category. They've got a wire puller. This is for electricians, and they only have one product. And I said, why don't you take it, because it's, you know, it's an anodized product. I said, why don't you anodize it in 3 colors and make one the pro version, you know, make it the pro version. Just put a fancier label on it and put a higher price on it.
Or,
And he's
or
like,
put a better grip on it, hand grip on it.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
something.
or add an extra item to it, you know, in the packaging, you know, give them an extra, you know, whatever, an extra spindle or spool or whatever you're doing. But
again, what if you only have one product, one color? You don't have these options to play the shell game. Then what do? You have one product, one color, one option. That's it. One price point.
You always have
Okay.
value added. You always have value added.
you just add something to it, a bonus, some third piece that comes into play. Like you might give them a free instructional video how to use it. You know, give them a tips guide of how to get the most use out of it, because whatever it is, somebody's buying it for a reason, right? So the best value add that you can do is show them how to get whatever it is that they want better, faster, cheaper. So that's a really good thing to add on, is any kind of thing that will help them get better, faster, cheaper.
Or if you're Perry Belcher, put a premium in there.
Same thing. He always adds premiums that gets it better, faster, cheaper. So, all right.
Hey,
We
John.
missed, let's go to
Hey, John.
Roger here.
Yo, about the same subject about having multiple offers for the pricing.
Uh-huh.
I have been advised, and I've seen that if you are, let's say you're selling from the stage, or even if you're at your own event and you're selling something, if you sell one thing and one thing only, they either have to buy or decline. But as soon as you, and so the people who want to buy will buy that. As soon as you offer 2 or more, and they are inclined to buy from you, you will start to lose business, because the people will not be able to choose between offer A and offer B, and they get into this whole analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So is it better just to have one thing and offer the one thing?
Not necessarily. And there is some validity to that, but there's also validity in the way you engineer the whole offer, the sales process, all of that. Like, for instance, some of you know that I had a clothing business at one time. We did sport fishing t-shirts, and I sold them into a lot of the sporting goods stores. And what would happen when the inventory of the shirts would go down, people stopped buying them. And it was because the selection wasn't good enough. So it kind of depends. If you've got like a functional item and you're creating confusion, then you could be right on the money with that. So it
John,
really depends on the situation, who's buying it, why they're buying it, all of that.
So is it better if you can engineer? Is it better to engineer 3 where you want to steer them to the middle option, or just offer 1?
Well, first of all, the reason that you put 3 is just so you can make more money. You know they're going to buy one of them, right? This is a case of where if you have 1 and you want to get them more money out of it, that's why you add the choices of 3. But you know they're going to buy 1 because the outcome of this thing is going to be the same. It's just that they want to supersize it. Now, I wouldn't put like 3 totally different offers there. That would destroy your sales because that creates confusion, and the confused mind does not buy. So
John,
I think there's some confusion here about what we're talking about. We're not talking about like 3 completely different things. We're talking about 3 variations of the same thing. That's what I'm referring to. They'll
But at 3
generally
different
take the
price
middle
points.
one. Different price points.
but John, what if you have this thing you want to offer at the end of your event or the end of your whatever it is? I'm thinking in terms of events, back of the room sales or whatever, and it's something where half the audience, some number might buy, but you want to at least get another group on your list or in your playground. Could you not have a like an offer? Hey, if you don't want this, well, you can join my community or join the membership or whatever. Is that too dissimilar?
No, that's just a downsell. Not everyone will be ready to make a purchase at any given time.
Right.
So that's a complete offshoot of, hey, if you're not ready to be successful today, I want to make sure that when you are, you don't miss out.
So that's okay to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That won't diminish your sales at all. So Daryl, you got your hand up here.
Yes, John. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, super. This is my first time on the call and I'm brand new to ACT, but I'm definitely super excited about getting the information.
Well, cool. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much. So my question to you is that I was going over those original calls that you had made, and I think maybe it was the second one where you were talking about devising the freedom formula.
Yep.
I guess my question to you is that so I'm in the gourmet food space. I deliver like all natural steaks, wild fish and seafood items, and organic poultry to residences. So I have many different SKUs, like a lot of different products.
Yes.
When it comes to the formula, do you think it would be better for me to pick my most profitable item and try to decipher how many of those I need to sell on a monthly basis to reach my dream, or my average customer sale?
I would do your average customer sale.
Okay.
Because like in yours, the whole point of the freedom formula isn't to complicate the math.
Right.
It's to know how many transactions you need to do to get there. So in your case, it's going to be average customer sale.
Okay.
So if you know, hey, on average, I make $100 profit on a sale, that's your number.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
And then as you go through the process and you start learning the marketing more, you'll learn how to increase that number. You'll learn how to package things and how to make offers and how to increase your profit by doing that. So the numbers will only get better. You know, that's the whole,
And
goal.
also maybe more often, capitalizing on more times they buy too on a yearly basis.
Yes, absolutely. Because, that's another key component to marketing is your follow-up sales. We were
Right.
talking about that earlier. If it's not your stuff, like, you're supplying them with probably the meats and the cheeses and stuff.
Exactly.
But you probably don't supply them with the wine, right?
Right.
Or the
Right.
breads or the desserts, or there's probably a ton of other stuff that you could supplement with. And you don't even have to do it. You just make the introductions and you make the commissions.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be as
Okay.
simple also as just including a coupon in the boxes you ship.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin, looks like you got your hand up, but you're muted out though.
Yes, always fun finding that mute button.
There
Thanks,
we
John.
go.
Yeah,
There we
I
go.
just wanted to. Yeah, I love the discussion about pricing, and I actually probably about a month ago I found a really good article on Twitter that talks about the anchor pricing, and I put a link to that article in the chat. So if somebody wants
Awesome.
to.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Also, if you guys have stuff and you're in the Alignable group, you can post it in there in the Alignable membership area too. The more stuff, that we can share, the better off we'll all be. So thanks for that. All right. Who's up next? If you don't know how to put the little hand thing up, you can do what Martin did and just wave at me. I'll see you hopefully. Karen, I saw you had your hand up there for a second and then you put it down. Are you good? Okay, you're muted though.
I was just like, yay, that was a nice comment that I heard.
Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure I didn't miss you if you had another question. All right, so there's a lot of stuff. As long as nobody's got a question, I want to kind of touch on the freedom formula, the reason for it. There is a really good reason that I put the freedom formula in here. And it was because of the first people that I ran through the program. We did a 2-day live event and we went through A to Z in 2 days. And at the end of it, I got some feedback, and the feedback that I got was, man, this is a lot of work. The whole idea of, just creating a marketing campaign. This is a lot of work. And they said, some of us just kind of disengaged through it because we didn't really we couldn't see why we were doing it. And I thought that's really important for me to know. So the freedom formula, the reason it's on the front end of this, a lot of people that are starting in business that haven't made real money in business, they can't imagine it. They can't see it. They don't know what it looks like or what it feels like. Like there's a lot of people, that are starting small businesses that have never made 100 grand in a year. They haven't. And if you're starting a business and your goal isn't to make at least 100 grand, it's like, why are you doing this? Why are you going to go through all this? So the freedom formula is really, it's to break a mindset issue. It's to allow you to see and to dream and to really visualize why you're going to do this hard work. And I can almost assure you, most people that don't do that, they don't get there. It's like, if you say, there's people out there that talk about this, like even the Secret, if you've seen the movie The Secret, they talk about visualizing this stuff and then all of a sudden it magically appears. Well, that's not quite true. But they don't explain the real process of how it really works. It operates on a thing called reticular activation. And when your subconscious gets to see the outcome. It's like the subconscious that's your heart. That's the thing that wants things, and that's where desires live and all that. So it's like, that's a very powerful computer to make things happen. It starts looking for, how do we get there? I see what I want. How am I going to get it? And your conscious mind, you can use that to communicate with yourself. It's the questions that you ask are really important. The questions that you should be asking of yourself is, how do I get that? Not why can't I have that? So many people ask those kind of questions to themselves. Like, give me a list of all the reasons I can't do something. And your subconscious is going to go to work, and it's going to be highly focused on why you can't do it. Right? You've just put a really powerful machine in play to sabotage you. By changing it up and asking, what do I have to do to put that fancy car in my driveway? What do I have to do to get out of this day job? What do I have to do to make $100,000 in a small business so I can do family vacations every year and just live a little bit better than I'm living now? When you ask the right questions, your subconscious is going to go to work to answer them for you. And now all of a sudden, it's going to be subliminally, subconsciously making a game plan and keeping you stuck to it. That's how the secret really works. The secret, when you walk through life now, your subconscious is constantly scanning everything. Oh, I need that. I need that. This is what it's going to take to get me where I want to go. And it's like you've put a machine, you've put a bulldozer in place to get you what you want. And that freedom formula is part of that process. You have to dream. You have to think about what you want, and then put the math together of, okay, this is just simple math. Most people, when you start playing that game with them, they can't believe it. That's why I say you have to suspend disbelief for a minute here. And let's just say that I'm going to wave a magic wand and you can have whatever you want. Money's not an issue. Let's think about it. Let's dream. Let's think, where would you live? What would you drive? Would you have a housekeeper? Would you, have a masseuse on call 3 times a week? Would you have a personal trainer? Would you have a chef? If money weren't an issue, what would your life look like? Would you live where you live now? Would you drive what you drive now? All that stuff. And everything that you want, just imagine it, figure out, and it doesn't have to be exact pricing. I know you're not going to come up with exact pricing, but put a price down. Like that house, well, I'd have to make a $5,000 a month payment for that house. I might have, a $1,000 a month payment for the car I want. Who knows? Maybe you're into horses. Maybe you're into boats. Whatever it is, just put a monthly price to how much it's going to cost every month to support that habit. And that's what you're coming up with. Doesn't have to be scientific. It's just for you to play. But the idea is you come up with a number of, okay, this is the number. This is how much I would have to make to live that dream life. Now you've got your number of what your life costs. Now you look at, what are you selling? How much profit is in each one that you sell? Now you divide that in, and now you know how many units you have to move. Now all of a sudden, that fantasy just became a reality. Your brain just said, oh my God, that's all I have to do to get that? I could really live like that? And it clicks in. And now all of a sudden, you have a reason to learn marketing. You have a really good reason to get really good at this game. You have a really good reason to learn how to communicate, learn how to communicate value so you can get new customers, because that's what's going to make it happen. Sales makes the world go round.
John?
Yes.
There was this little book written literally 100 years ago.
Richest man
now-
in Babylon?
No, Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, gotcha. Yep. Yep.
NLP, quantum physics, and everything else is finally catching up to what was written by Napoleon Hill at the behest of Carnegie 100 years ago. And you can take all the numbers in that book and multiply them times 20, and you'll have an accurate picture of the numbers that they're talking about in that book. But if you read that book every day, as God is my witness, it will work. It has worked for over 100 years. You can get it free on Kindle. That will transform your life. When I was doing that on a daily basis, I was developing apartment complexes and everything else. And when I got poisoned, I forgot all about it. I'm rediscovering it now. And in 3 days, it's turned everything around. Getting my mind back on, oh, this is how and why the world works. Really, no kidding, bottom line, full stop. I can't, and it's worth getting for free and reading it daily, because that will in fact change your life. No kidding.
Yeah.
What
The
was the
name
name
of
again,
name of
Richard?
the book was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A lot of entrepreneurs, that book is very common thread through entrepreneurs. A lot of the guys, a lot of the gurus talk about it. Believe it or not, I've never read it. I'm not a big reader. I read almost nothing unless
You can get it on an audiobook, but trust me, John, I believe that there's very few people that make over $10 million a year that have not read it.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's it is the core. I know what's in it. I've had, pretty deep discussions with people that have read it and know it like the back of their hand. So I know what it is. I know what's in there. I just have never read the book. So
What you're talking about is what it's all about. It just makes it a teeny bit more specific and that sort of stuff. There's been a new one that's come out called U Squared, which is only 35 pages long, but Bob Proctor swears that with Think and Grow Rich and You Too and As a Man Thinketh, those are the only three books you need to read, and you can become a billionaire. No problem.
yeah. It's funny that we get onto that topic, because like I learn in a very different way. Reading is too slow for me. It doesn't keep my interest. I can't assimilate the stuff fast enough to keep me happy. Everything I learn is by observation. And Jay, I don't know if you know Jay Williams. He's the NLP trainer, master trainer. He is fascinated by how quickly I can master and go from one industry to another, and really, have a high level of mastery in like very, very short time frame. And he's trying to build a modeling thing, an NLP modeling about how I do it. And we came to the conclusion it's almost identical to the way that that Da Vinci did it. Da Vinci mastered like all kinds of stuff, invented all kinds of stuff. And everything that Da Vinci did and learned, it was by observation. And we put a really cool scenario together. Like the way that I learned business was the same way that Da Vinci learned health. The way he learned medicine, modern medicine, is the exact same way that I learned business. And the way he did it was he sat next to somebody that was literally dying. He sat next to them and he watched them die. And then he dissected them to figure out why. And that's what I've done. I've sat right next to businesses and watched them die, and then dissected why they died and told them. And so they never have to suffer that death again. But it's very interesting. The parallel of the way I learn is the way he learned. it's kind of freaky, but that's why I never read books. I can't get the information fast enough.
Well, that is the gift. It all comes from observation. Everything that exists in the world came from somebody observing something. That's the only way that it happens. And quantum physics goes a long way to explaining how and why that works.
I'll have to delve into that one day.
Richard, what was the second book you said was 35 pages?
That's U squared. It was one of the books that Proctor really liked. It's only 35 pages, and there's even a little master class that goes along with it too, but it's all powerful stuff. And it is all about is that if you hold a thought consistently in your mind, the universe must generate it. Quantum physics says so. So if you hold a consistent, true thought in your mind, you link it through faith and an emotion. Love and sex are two of the high ones. The universe can't not produce it for you. It will deliver it to you immediately. And it will never, underline, never, full stop, never deliver it the way that you think it will.
That's awesome.
And John, Benjamin Frank, my mind works the same way. No matter how fast I read a book, it's irrelevant. I need to observe it. You can. I don't want to sit there and read a manual on how to do something. I just want to do it. But Benjamin Franklin's famous quote was, "True knowledge is gained by simply observing." That's everything, and it's a more male thing than female. But in general, we all learn from what other people have done or predecessors. So it makes total sense to think about it.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't by choice. I think I was engineered that way by my father. When I was a kid, every day, he would come home from work, he'd sit in his chair and he'd be reading his paper. And at some point between that time and before we had dinner, he was going to call me over to that chair, and he had the same question for me every day. What did you learn today? And me saying nothing was not an acceptable answer unless I was in a coma. I had to tell him what I learned that day, every day. So I was trained from a very small child to be looking in the world every day, everywhere I am. What am I learning? So I was trained to observe from a child. And I think that's probably why I still do it every day. I learn, there's not a day goes by I don't learn something from observation. So just part of my fabric. Joan, you had a question? Oh, no. Just waving to me. Okay, cool.
Well, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to leave, so I was going to sort of waving goodbye. I
Oh,
want to hear
okay.
more about the program. I hope that's what we come to talk about next week, and just the practical application, working it, how, I just need to do that.
Yeah. Go back, go into the members area, listen to the first call. The first call,
I have.
I really kind of outlined the whole thing.
I'll go back and do it again.
Yeah. That's a really good overview of how it all works together, how all the pieces kind of mesh together. So, but yeah, anything you have questions on, as you're going through it, don't be afraid to hop in here and say, hey, can you explain this? Or how does that work together? How does this work? Happy to meet you wherever you are. We've got different people on here at different levels. Like Richard's been with me for over a decade. So he's got different questions on different levels. It's perfectly fine.
John, I wanted to ask you about that. You had mentioned last week in the original call something about office hours kind of thing. Is it possible to chat one-on-one to ask him the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to my site, the internetdominators.com, and there's a scheduler on there that you can set up a 15-minute talk.
Oh, they're good talks too. I've had a few of those.
But anything, you're welcome to ask me anything you want on here. There's nothing I'll shy away from. The only thing is if I don't know, I'll just tell you that. You know, and hopefully I can point you to somebody that does, but
If he doesn't know, Richard does. Come on, we know this.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing in the group, you know, sometimes there'll be somebody on here that will know more about something than I do. So, and I am happy to defer if that's ever the case. Absolutely. You know, the whole ACT program, I wish it was my genius behind it, but it's not. It's just my observation of how the ad agencies have been so successful at building businesses and sales for so long. It's awesome. Somebody had a question there.
Yeah, I sent you a question about the avatar.
Oh, yes,
So-
yes. I think
So
yep. I
because
think
it's
you
all-
probably weren't on in the very beginning. I was talking about that. I didn't see you on there.
Oh, okay. I had an
So-
internet problem.
Oh, no, that's no
Okay.
problem. So what I was saying was a lot of times there's no real place where you can go to get those questions answered. A lot of times it's just your knowledge of who you're working with. If you're new and you haven't had the experience with the people, just go ahead and make the mistakes. You know, it's okay to make mistakes with not figuring it out perfectly right out of the gate. But in a lot of cases, you can look to competitors. Sometimes your competitors will have already figured it out. So your competitive analysis can give you a lot of insight. There's particular demographic tools. Like if it's a particular industry, you can go and you can look at the demographics of the industry, and that'll give you like age ranges, the breakdown of male, female. And those are kind of clues as to how you key in on it. But as far as like the most profitable segment of the market, sometimes it's not. Sometimes when I say, you know, who's your ideal customer, sometimes it's not the most profitable one. Because in some cases, you might have some customers that are really profitable that are just miserable type people, and you don't want to deal with them. So I don't encourage you to do that. When I talk about your ideal customer, it's the one that you enjoy working with most, that will bring you the most joy and happiness and money at the same time.
Okay, thank
So
you.
It's
The
I
trial
wish-
and error.
yeah, I wish I could give you a better answer.
No, that's okay. That's good.
But the more you learn about them, like as you start and grow your business, get to know your customers. I mean, talk to them, have one-on-ones with them, send out surveys. You know, if you get too many to deal with one-on-ones, start sending out surveys and get their feedback. They will tell you everything that you need to know. They'll even tell you what they want. I can't tell you how many products I have developed because of feedback from a different program or a different thing that I was selling. This call right here is a perfect example of that. This call came out of the end of one of my programs. People were freaking out. I did a 4-week program, or actually it was an 8-week program. And at the end of the 8th week, the way the program worked was I released a video training on Monday. And then on Friday, I did an open conference call. This was before Zoom. This was actually a call on a phone. It was a conference call. And at the end of the 8th week, they were freaking out. And I said, no, don't worry. I'll stay on the call as long as you have questions. You know, I'm not going to leave you before all your questions are answered. And they were still freaking out. And I'm like, what is it that you guys are scared of? And they're like, what do we do next week when you're gone? And I hadn't even thought of that. That wasn't even like on my radar. And because they all said that, I said, well, would you want me to continue the calls? And would they be worth $29 a month? And that's where I got the pricing. That was over 10 years ago. Never raised the price. This call that you're on is a continuation of that. It's been going on for, what was it, Richard? Like 2010 when I started that? So
Yeah, it was actually, I could go back and get the exact date, but yeah, it was early 2010, I believe, because it's been, well, a full 13 years now at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So And that came out of me just asking, what do you want? They were freaking out. I'm like, how can I help? How can I stop the freak out? And they just said, we want continued access to you. And I said, well, I'm willing to do that in a group environment. Is it worth $29 a month? I asked about the pricing. What would you pay for it? And they all agreed that, yeah, we'd pay $29 a month forever to not lose you. It's a cheap insurance policy to make sure I'm there every week for whatever problem comes your way. And there's
foolish not to, John, because the truth of the matter is that you take the 5 top people you interact most with and you total up their income and divide by 5, and that will be probably close to what your income is. So I've kept you on my list, John. I want to get closer to your numbers. I know what those boats cost to own and run. And the purchase price ain't it.
No, they could give you the boat. You can't afford it.
Yeah, it's a loss leader, right? The boat's a loss leader. It's the maintenance
absolutely.
that's- Hey, John, on the site, is the scheduler hidden behind the client login?
No, it's on the homepage.
I'm not seeing it. Neither one of us are seeing it actually.
You're on the Internet Dominator site?
Oh, yeah.
Let me see. Let me make sure it magically didn't disappear.
I was gonna say 2 pretty intelligent people here, and we're missing it. Unless it's hiding at the bottom somewhere.
Oh, it is right there above the fold. Let me share the screen, make sure you're on the right thing. So Internet Dominators, free 15-minute strategy session right there.
Oh, that? Okay. I wanted to look at that. Somebody's looking at that. Okay, that's where I'm at too.
So
Thank you.
that's it. That's how you schedule it. All right. What else do we have to cover here? I know I don't want to keep you guys. I know it's coming up on Christmas and you probably got shopping to do, and I could stay here and chew the fat about this stuff all day long. So I don't. Any other questions? Are you guys ready to hit the holidays running?
John, I'm just going to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody.
Definitely, Merry
I got to take
Christmas.
off, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
To
you.
everybody
Happy
here.
holidays and thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys all for being part of this and part of my life, and we're in for a great year. You guys are in for a great ride. Don't worry about the economy. Don't worry about that stuff. You figure this marketing thing out and nothing is going to harm you.
John, it's actually good news when the recessions and stuff come around, because that is when the fortunes truly are made. History proves it out over and over and over again. Every time there's a recession, that creates another MailChimp or another. You go back and look at when these companies were founded, and a lot of the big ones you recognize that are household names are all done during recessions. And the bigger the turn down, the bigger the success. It's absolutely true.
Yep, nothing matters. Whoever, the government doesn't matter, the economy doesn't matter, who's the president doesn't matter. If you figure out marketing and you figure out what people want and help them get it, you're going to be just fine.
Hey, John, I had a friend of mine called me, or a colleague called me yesterday early in the morning. I had been on the computer the whole time, and to let me know, he said, your voice sounds just like, and I said, just like what? He paused. He said, just like Franco Harris. And I said, well, talking about, and he said, well, Franco passed away and they're talking about him on ESPN. And I went to high school with Franco Harris. We went to the same high school.
Yeah.
And my younger brother is still friends with his younger brother, Zeppy Harris. Anyhow, long story short, I wrote an article, and I'm going to put that out there.
Confirming you want me there 1:30 to 3, correct?
He was an awesome individual, not just a great football player. So he had decided to be a great person and identify his greatness long before he ever showed up at Penn State. When we remember him when he was in high school and elementary school even, and he had already decided at a young age about being a great person. So I put that in the article, and I just thought I'd share that with you. Most reason, the reason I was going to share that though is just thinking of legacy. You're leaving a legacy. Rich is leaving his legacy. Tim, Teresa, each of us are leaving a legacy, whether or not the whole world knows it or whether or not just our community. So God bless each and every one of you, and have a great, great holiday.
Yeah. Have a great week, guys. And don't forget, next week, we're going to do that exercise for 2023. So that'll be a real good one. So we will see you guys next week. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, all that good stuff.
Happy holidays.
Christmas, Merry Christmas, all be well.
Merry Christmas.